London, the capital of the United Kingdom, is home to approximately 8.9 million people, with nearly 40% born outside the UK. This diversity makes London one of the world's most multicultural cities. While this might seem like a modern phenomenon due to global connectivity, London's history of attracting people from near and far spans 2,000 years, from the Romans to the Normans, the Stuarts to the Victorians. Its unique position as a hub of empires, political movements, conflicts, and cultural fusion has shaped the vibrant metropolis we know today. How did London transform from a small provincial settlement into one of the world's greatest cities? This is the story of how London became a global capital. Roman beginnings, 43 AD 410 AD. Before the Romans arrived nearly 2,000 years ago, Britain was inhabited by Celtic tribes. In 43 AD, Roman legions invaded and established a defensive settlement on the north bank of the River Thames, naming it Londinium. Strategically located at the river's narrowest point, Londinium was ideal for building a bridge, connecting it to the Roman Empire's road and sea networks. Initially, it remained a small settlement. In 60 AD, just over a decade after its founding, a massive rebellion led by the Celtic queen Boudica devastated Londinium, along with the Roman settlements of Camulodunum, modern Colchester, and Verulamium, St. Albans. After Boudica's defeat, the Romans rebuilt Londinium as a planned town. By the 80s AD, a forum was constructed, followed by major public buildings including the largest basilica north of the Alps, temples, bathhouses, an amphitheater, and a fort for the city's garrison. By the early 2nd century, Londinium's population reached around 60,000, surpassing Camulodunum to become the capital of Roman Britannia. Between 190 and 225 AD, the Romans built the London Wall, a defensive barrier with 6 gates: Ludgate, Newgate, Aldersgate, Cripplegate, Bishopsgate, and Aldgate. Moorgate was added later in medieval times. This wall defined the city's boundaries for centuries. By the 5th century, the Roman Empire was in decline, and in 410 AD, the last Roman legions withdrew from Britain, ending nearly 400 years of Roman rule. By the century's end, Londinium was largely abandoned. Anglo-Saxon revival, 5th and 9th century. In the 5th and 6th centuries, Anglo-Saxon tribes from northern Germany and Denmark migrated across the North Sea to Britain. They avoided the abandoned Roman city and established a new settlement, Lundenwic, just west of the Roman walls near modern Covent Garden. By the late 7th century, Lundenwic had a population of about 10,000, a bustling port, and the first post-Roman St. Paul's Cathedral, founded in 604 by Bishop Mellitus. The cathedral played a key role in converting pagan Anglo-Saxons to Christianity. By the 9th century, Lundenwic's thriving trade and religious treasures attracted Viking raiders. The Viking Age in Britain began with the 793 raid on Lindisfarne Monastery, and London faced its first Viking attack in the 830s. Raids intensified until 871, when the Viking Great Heathen Army invaded and occupied London, camping within the old Roman walls. In 886, Alfred the Great, King of Wessex, recaptured London, relocated Lundenwic inside the Roman walls, rebuilt the defenses and the Thames Bridge, and renamed the settlement Londonburh. Its size and commercial wealth made it increasingly significant, though it competed politically with Winchester, the traditional Anglo-Saxon capital. Early medieval growth and Norman Conquest, 10th, 11th century. Despite Viking attacks in the 10th and early 11th centuries, London's importance grew, bolstered by King Edward the Confessor, who fortified the city. Around 1060, he founded Westminster Abbey, which became the primary site for royal ceremonies. Edward, the first of 18 monarchs buried there, died in January 1066, and his successor, Harold Godwinson, was crowned in the Abbey, the first of 40 monarchs crowned there. The year 1066 marked a pivotal moment with the Norman Conquest. William the Conqueror, Duke of Normandy, believed he was the rightful heir to the English throne and defeated Harold at the Battle of Hastings. William marched to London and was crowned at Westminster Abbey on Christmas Day 1066. Under Norman rule, fortresses were built to control the population. In London, a wooden fort at the city A.S. East End was replaced by England's first stone castle, the Tower of London, an enduring symbol of royal power. Although London was England's largest and most important city, Winchester remained the official capital, housing most royal institutions. A fire in Winchester in the late 11th century prompted the relocation of these institutions to London, cementing its status as the de facto capital. Medieval expansion, 12th to 15th century. In 1097, William II began constructing Westminster Hall as a royal residence, strengthening London's royal ties. The city's population surged from 15,000 in 1100 to over 80,000 by 1300. Alongside locals, London hosted diverse groups, including French wine merchants, Flemish textile workers, Danish and German sailors, and a Jewish community that settled after the Norman Conquest around 1070. South of the Thames, Southwark grew in importance. A wooden bridge over the Thames, rebuilt multiple times, was replaced by a stone London Bridge starting in 1176. Completed in 1209, it featured a gatehouse and multi-story houses overhanging the river, serving as the only pedestrian crossing for over 600 years. Politically, London gained autonomy with its first recorded mayor, Henry Fitz-Alan, in 1189. The Magna Carta of 1215, signed by King John, recognized London's special rights, allowing governance by its citizens rather than the crown. London's wealth came from trade, driven by merchants and craftsmen organized into guilds, such as the Weavers' Company, chartered in 1155, mercers, brewers, goldsmiths, and others. These guilds ensured trade standards. However, the city's crowded streets fostered disease. The Black Death of 1348 killed around 200 Londoners daily at its peak, decimating the population. Social unrest was common, culminating in the Peasants' Revolt of 1381, when rural protesters looted London, destroyed buildings, and killed officials. Without a police force, medieval London relied on deterrence. Minor offenders faced public humiliation in stocks, while serious criminals were executed at sites like Tyburn, Smithfield, or Tower Hill before jeering crowds. Tudor transformation, 16th century. The Tudor dynasty marked a turning point, elevating London to one of the world's largest cities. Its population grew from 50,000 in 1530 to over 200,000 by 1600, driven by its status as a commercial hub. A 1543 panoramic map by Flemish artist Anthonus van den Wingaard showed London expanding beyond its walls, particularly toward Westminster, the seat of government. Trade extended to Russia, America, Africa, and India through companies like the Muscovy Company and East India Company, laying the foundations for the British Empire. Londoners spent their wealth in taverns, brothels, and, notably, theaters. Initially performed in private galleries, plays became so popular that dedicated theaters emerged. Banned inside the city walls in 1574, theaters like the Globe in Southwark thrived on the outskirts, showcasing works by William Shakespeare, the era's most celebrated playwright. Stuart era and crises, 17th century. The Stuart era began with Queen Elizabeth of Atherton's death in 1603. In 1605, the Gunpowder Plot, led by Guy Fawkes and Catholic conspirators, aimed to destroy Parliament and King James I, but was foiled. The plotters were executed in Westminster. King Charles III, who ascended in 1625, alienated Parliament with his authoritarian rule, sparking the English Civil War in 1642. London sided with Parliament, fortifying the city against Royalists. Charles III was captured, tried for treason, and executed outside the banqueting house in 1649. London remained England's political center during the Republic, 1649 to 1660, and after the monarchy's restoration in 1660 when Charles II was crowned. The city faced crises. A 1665 plague killed 60,000, and the Great Fire of 1666 destroyed most of the medieval city. New building regulations mandated stone and brick construction, overseen by architect Sir Christopher Wren, who rebuilt St. Paul's Cathedral, 52 churches, and the monument to the fire. The West End emerged as an aristocratic enclave with mansions and coffee houses in Covent Garden and St. James's, contrasting with the middle-class city of London. By the late 17th century, London hosted the Bank of England, East India Company, and Lloyd's of London, fueling global trade. The docklands expanded eastward, and the population reached 500,000 by the early 1700s, including immigrants from Europe, Africa, the Caribbean, and Asia. 18th and 19th century, industrial and imperial power. Landmarks like 10 Downing Street, 1732, first occupied by Robert Walpole, Buckingham Palace, 1761, purchased by George III, Westminster Bridge, 1750, and Blackfriars Bridge, 1769, were established. By the 19th century, London was the world's largest city, with over 1 million people growing to 6.7 million by 1900. The Industrial Revolution drew rural workers, but many lived in slums, as depicted in Charles Dickens's Oliver Twist. Crime surged, prompting Robert Peel to establish the Metropolitan Police in 1829, which tackled cases like the Jack the Ripper murders in the 1880s. Railways and the underground tube network connected suburbs to stations like Euston, Paddington, Waterloo, King's Cross, and St. Pancras. The Great Exhibition of 1851 at the Crystal Palace drew 6 million visitors, showcasing Britain's imperial might. Other landmarks included Trafalgar Square, Big Ben, the Houses of Parliament, and Tower Bridge. Sanitation remained poor, with cholera outbreaks common. The Great Stink of 1858, caused by sewage in the Thames, prompted Joseph Bazalgette to build a modern sewer system, eliminating cholera and saving countless lives. 20th century wars and cultural shifts. During World War I, German Zeppelin and airplane raids killed 670 Londoners, with 124,000 dying on the front. World War II brought greater destruction, especially during the Blitz, 1940-1941, when 71 raids dropped over 18,000 tons of bombs, targeting the city and docklands. Around 30,000 Londoners died, and many were left homeless, though St. Paul's Cathedral survived unscathed. Children were evacuated, and residents sheltered in underground stations. Post-war, damaged Victorian housing was replaced, and immigrants from the British Empire added to London's diversity. The Swinging Sixties made London a global cultural hub, driven by bands like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. 21st century, a global metropolis. Today, London's 8.9 million residents, with nearly 40% foreign-born, reflect its 2,000-year history of attracting people seeking opportunity. From Roman Londinium to Norman Conquests, Tudor commerce to Victorian innovation, London's layers of history have made it not just Britain's capital, but a global beacon of culture, trade, and diversity.